Welcome to the home stretch. We have just come out of the last turn of COVID, and we are heading for the finish line. And we are looking at ways that you and our community can finish well and position ourselves for the next leg of our next race. So let's get into it, and this is the home stretch. It's great to have you here this week for the home stretch. We are looking at momentum. And if you can give me a second just to get going, great. All right, so momentum is a helpful tool for us. Basically the idea of momentum is stored up energy that can carry you through hard things or resistance. And so we are looking at momentum and how it can affect us as individuals and us as a community. Now, if you ever heard of a flywheel, a flywheel, you may have heard of it in a car engine. It stores up energy. It allows the car not to stall out when you let the clutch off. You might still stall it out if you get too early in the momentum of it, too much load on it, but there's a flywheel in a car. A friend of mine older than me, I was chatting with him, and he told me about a factory he used to work in, and I think he said he was making shoes there. Well, this old factory had a critical piece in their factory, and it was a giant like steel or iron flywheel. And this thing was like 9 feet tall and super, super heavy. And this thing was its entire thing was to spin. And it stored up energy and allowed all the machines to press on, to go through, and to do their job. It spun and it spun and it spun, but eventually it needed some repairs. So they had to shut down this massive 9-foot flywheel. And the thing was, it took time. The big flywheel wasn't designed to stop. It had momentum behind it. But they shut it down and it slowly wound itself down. And you might picture like the stick in the spoke method, right? Why don't we just like stop it? But it has so much power stored up in its momentum that just isn't going to work. It's going to be like riding a bicycle where it just flings you forward. It's going to do damage in the way that you stop. Now we over this past year, we've kind of stopped. We've used up the stored up energy and the momentum we've had over decades and years as a church and as a community. And you might be even noticing this for yourself, that you've stopped with all the momentum that you had in your life and in your career, in your family, that you really slowed things down through COVID. And some of it in good ways, but other parts where you're just like, I am like stuck or stationary in life. You may now be noticing as you're heading back to work or as you're engaging with things that you used to do, that you just don't have the energy or the passion that you once did, that you've lost momentum in your life. And we as a church, as a community, we've lost decades of momentum that was building and guiding us and moving us. We still have the Spirit and we still have God active, absolutely, but as a community, we've lost some momentum. We've lost a lot of momentum. So that leads us to the second half of the story about my friend in this old factory, I think making shoes, right? Is that after they did the repairs, after they have taken the time to stop the wheel, they had to get it going again. And they started up this flywheel, and you may not have even noticed anything going on. It was like that slow of progress. And slowly you'd see it shifting and moving. And it's not overly encouraging, because it means you're not producing. It means that you're not being productive. It means that you can't do your job, that there's so much stuff that's waiting for this flywheel to get going. And all they could do was wait. I think he said it took like 3 days for this flywheel to get up to speed, for that factory to be able to operate in the way it once did again. And so as we are eyeing up the fall, I'd love to encourage you to think about momentum. How do we start building momentum as a community again? How do you build momentum in your life again? How do we invest energy into this giant flywheel where we know that it's going to eventually carry us through a lot of things and be productive, be fruitful, and enjoyable once things are humming along again? But as it's starting up again, how can we be investing energy into momentum? Some of the things we've already started doing as a community, we've started with these reunion gatherings where we can see each other, where we can connect, where we can create space for relationship to start adding more energy into this flywheel of momentum, to allow us to start moving towards a restored, regular rhythm. But as we're thinking about this, the flywheel is built off of energy being invested And we could ask you to consider, what ways can you invest in community? What ways can you invest in your faith to allow us as a church body to start finding that momentum again, to not take months and months and months of slowly building up that energy, but with the more energy being put in, we can find that momentum as a community again. As we're looking at momentum, it's worth thinking about, how do we continue to invest? How can you be a part of gaining momentum in community? And it might be you joining a team. We are going to have a lot of things that are going to need a lot of energy to get going. And this might sound draining because we don't have the momentum yet, right? But we have a lot of spots coming this fall that we need to start pushing slowly in the right direction to get up to speed, so that when we regather and as we regather, we can connect in ways. We can see our children's being invested in. We can reach out to the neighborhood. We can love others as Christ loves us. But a lot of that does take momentum, because we have to put energy in. And we get a better return as we get momentum behind us. And so over the next few months, I'd love for you to consider what ways you can be sowing energy into the church community, so that we are in a better position as we end COVID to hit the next season with a bit more momentum than we would if we didn't take this time to consider momentum. So that's the idea, is that we have stopped a massive flywheel. We've lost tons of momentum that has been building up over decades. And as we go into the final home stretch, we need to be considering what momentum can we carry, what momentum can we invest into that will allow us to start the fall in a way that allows us to love our neighbors, love others, and glorify God together. So please consider what part you have in that, and it's been great chatting with you.